and thank you for the privilege of your time for me to speak with you today. When Sarah Conrad approached me, she flattered me by saying that she thought I had an interesting life, and I had some things to say. I had spoken to her freshman biology class as a board-certified genetic counselor, and I was able to help develop a curriculum with her teacher about the profession of genetic counseling, and so that's what she became aware of what I used to do. So thank you, Sarah, for inviting me, and thank you for putting me first so I can get through this and then enjoy the rest of the talks. But to begin, I just want to mention a poem entitled The Dash. And if you've never read that, I would encourage you to Google it. But basically what that dash represents is that time between our date of birth and our date of death. So I'm going to talk a little bit about 3 principles that I use to guide me in terms of living a fulfilled life. And hopefully that will help you leap forward into your future as well. So to begin, I just want to let you know, I was raised in the Midwest, in Stevens Point, Wisconsin. I was the oldest of 2 daughters, loved unconditionally by my parents, and I believed and was taught that I could do and be anything I wanted. I was fortunate to go to a large high school in Stevens Point, and then we moved to a small town in Harvard, Illinois, where I attended a small high school. And I mention that because I was really involved in both high schools. But as you can imagine, the amount of activities and the level to which I excelled was directly correlated to the size of my school. And it was at my smaller high school that I learned that I could be in a lot of things. I could learn a lot of new skills, and I could meet a lot of new people. So it was then that I realized that I wanted to be a lifelong learner. So my first principle is to be an intentional, lifelong learner. My interest in that then brought me to a small school. I went to Illinois Wesleyan in Bloomington, Illinois, and I studied biology. I then went on to the University of Pittsburgh, where I got my graduate degree in genetic counseling. So that was truly the formal part of my lifelong education. But education and learning is so much more than just your academics. My first job was in Albany, New York, at Albany Medical Center, and I was actually responsible for being jack of all trades, if you will. I worked with both prenatal and the pediatric populations. So I had to continually learn about the conditions, about the genetics, about what the advances were at the time. So one week I might be preparing to see families with Duchenne muscular dystrophy. The next family might be about retinoblastoma. The next might be consanguinity. The next might be about a craniofacial disorder. So I was continually to learn at that point. So it was on-the-job training, if you will. And you can only imagine that genetics, the explosion of genetics that was happening. So over the 13 years of my career as a board-certified genetic counselor, I saw exponential changes monthly, and I was having to stay abreast of that. I also was very privileged to witness the miraculous advances with genetics, the dawn of gene therapy, and the mapping of the Human Genome Project. Now the explosion of genetics has afforded genetic counselors the opportunity to specialize in different areas of medicine. So individuals can be in oncology, neurology, cardiology, or pharmacogenomics, just to name a few. So it's an extremely, extremely exciting time, and it continues to be so. So my learning also then translated into my professional development on a national level. I got very, very involved in the National Society of Genetic Counselors, where I was then networking with colleagues across the country and actually across the world. So I was involved, I was elected to the society and served on the board as a regional representative, professional issues chair, and then I served the 4-year presidential tenure. During my presidential tenure, I was honored, and I'm going to tell you a few highlights. One, I was invited to the White House to witness one of the introduction of a genetic non-discrimination bill. I was invited to Europe to talk at the European Society of Human Genetics meeting in Italy. And most thrilling was I was appointed appointed to serve on the Secretary's Advisory Committee on Genetic Testing for 3 years under President Clinton's administration. So at that point, now I'm learning about legislation, I'm learning about the need for oversight of genetic testing, and it was a really another wonderful lifelong learning experience. So here I was, very successful and happy in my career, well respected by my peers, but I also was a mom. And I had 2 young children. My one daughter was 7, and we adopted a daughter from China. So now I'm kind of grappling with being a working mom and a stay-at-home mom. So in 2003, I decided that I would be a stay-at-home mom. And I'll talk a little bit about why I came up to that decision in a moment. So fast forward to August of 2012, my oldest daughter is now a rising senior here at Carmel High School. And I had just actually been offered a job as a genetic counselor to work in oncology at Community Hospital North. But I wasn't quite ready to jump back into the field because I still had my daughter Alyssa at home, and she was a 5th grader. So I did look and found that there was a job opening here in the College and Career Resource Center at Carmel High School. And I knew that that job sounded, number one, awesome, to be working with the awesome kids here at Carmel High School in college. But I also was excited because I could use my counseling skills, and I would still be aligned with the Carmel Clay schedule for my kids and my family. So I applied for the job along with 124 other people, and I was fortunate to actually get the position. So I've been now doing that for 9 years. But I realized I had a lot of learning to do. So I literally became a sponge. I read books, I had great mentors, I went to conferences, I visited campuses, and I enrolled in a 7-course program through the University of California, Irvine, so that I could actually increase my knowledge and credibility. And so that knowledge has served me well, as every year I serve and meet with students here at Carmel High School and their families, and I help them along their college exploration and application process. And they are applying to schools all over the United States, everywhere from Ivy Tech to the Ivies. So I am literally loving my new profession as a college counselor. But it's also important to know that learning is not just related to your career. I literally cannot wait to learn new things. I'm always signing up for a course, even if it's just one night or if it's a semester long. So I've done things like how to write a book. I've done how to make a cheese board. I've done things that are how to do the interior decorating and decorate my home. So there's always ways that I can learn. But I also know that I'm learning how to be a better person, how to be a better mother, a better colleague, a better friend. And right now it's really important to how to become a better citizen. I've been really learning a little bit more, or a lot more, about what I believe there is systemic racism. So my most recent class is how can I be an ally for individuals that may be marginalized or discriminated against. So there's always a new thing to learn. So my first principle, be a lifelong learner. My second principle is celebrate your seasons of life. And I went to a conference called Hearts at Home. And it was actually held annually in Bloomington Normal, Illinois. And I went and I just got the halfway meeting. So sorry for that. And I went to that conference and I went to a workshop for working moms. And it was at that workshop that I realized we have a parenting season of life. And I know that sounds really obvious, but it really hit home and resonated with me that my parenting season of life is a short season of life. It's only 18 years per child. And when you look at the lifespan, and for U.S. women, the predicted lifespan is 81 years old. So that gave me some perspective that I would have a lot of time even after my parenting season of life. So I came home, talked to my husband, and we agreed that at that point my priority was being a mom. And as much as I loved my career, and I fully intended to always go back to my career as a genetic counselor, but that it would be that short time that I would be a parent. So during my parenting season of life, I learned a lot of new things. I learned how to be the best the best PTO volunteer, the best youth group leader. And also, and I know some people in this room know, I was a big worker bee behind the scenes for choir and drama activities for my girls. So again, I never stopped learning. So the one thing I also want to note, and it's important to note, is that some of our seasons overlap. Some individuals choose to do the parenting season and the professional work season at the same time, and that's great. We all have to just realize what's significant to us and to actually then celebrate that, whatever we choose. And then my last principle is literally to embrace new adventures and create a bucket list. So I've been inspired by one of my friends, and she created, and I've created, a 60 by 60 list. 60 new experiences or new adventures that I will complete by the time I'm 60 years old. And I have till the summer of 2023, a few more years. And I have been working on those for this decade. So some of those, again, can be short time. They can be one evening classes. Some can be more commitment. I actually participated in the Carmel Sprint Triathlon, so I trained for that. I wanted to take piano lessons my whole life, so I've taken piano lessons for several years. Some of the other things that I've accomplished is going to the Super Bowl last year. That was pretty awesome. I've actually gone and seen John Williams, the brilliant composer, conduct the Indianapolis Symphony Orchestra. I've gone to, trying to think some of the other things I had listed, to a National Olympic trial. I mean, that was a diving trial down at the natatorium. Some of the other things that are on my bucket list still include a lot of travel, going on an Alaskan cruise. I'm a Disney fanatic, and I want to go to every Disney theme park in the world. So Tokyo, Shanghai, Hong Kong, and Paris are the ones I still have to do. I'd love to go to a U.S. citizenship ceremony. I'd love to serve on an Indy honor flight. And I'd love to do a hot air balloon. The one thing is my husband's appreciated my list because he actually can go to that list to figure out what gift he wants to give me. So the one gift he just gave me at Christmas is I want to go see the Rockettes live in New York City, and I want to see the Macy's Day Parade. So he's already booked the trip. He has our tickets to go see the Rockettes. So what I challenge each one of you is to be a lifelong learner, to celebrate the seasons of life, whatever they may be, and to also embrace new adventures and create your own 20 by 20 list, 30 by 30 list, or whatever decade list it may be. May you all go out to live your dash to its fullest. Thank you.